pull this thing out so you could see it. I'm going to bring in a box that has, so this, we're done talking about Network Plus. So if anybody's on the stream and doesn't want to talk about Network Plus anymore, we're done with that. You're welcome to drop off. But I have a new Synology drive array that I was going to pull out of the box. Let me find it on my screen. Which product is it? I got the, which one is it? I don't remember. Okay. Which one did I order? It's a big one. Because I've got a 5 drive array now that is woefully out of space. It's the 2414 Plus. Let me bring this up. So here's the new drive array. So this is 12 drive array rather than the 5 drive array that I had. So I've got plenty of storage that's going to come in here for this. It's just sitting outside the room right now. And I'm going to put it in the rack and get that up and running today so that I can edit this because it's got plenty of storage. So it's the 2414. I did not get the RP, which is a redundant power. I have a single UPS in here. And if I lose the power supply in this storage array, I'll just get another one. It being down for a day for me is not the end of the world. I'll just get it next day to do something like that. So that's a nice one. So why don't I just bring it in? I'll just bring it in. We'll look at it. I'm going to bring in a table to put it on and do that. So I'm going to walk away for a moment and I will be right back. Well, I can't hear anything anyway, so I'm going to take these out. All right. Whoops, sorry. Okay, be right back. All right. Where's the box? All right. There's a big box. It's kind of hard to see if I'm standing in the way, though. There's the Synology. I wonder if I can move my camera over. And you can look at my shirt the entire time. I bet I can zoom out, though. Let's see. Okay. Should probably put my head in there, though, right? Could have done that. Got a box of stuff on the floor. Junk everywhere. That's better. Okay. It's an odd angle. Just sort of gives you the idea of what we got going on here. Could move this in another place. There's the box. It's a big one. So to give you an idea of size, that's a big drive array. Whew. Okay. Let's grab something to open it with. everyone's in. We know what's going on. Is the chat room still with me? There we go. Okay. So I see their chat room. All right. Let's see what we got. It's like an accessory kit. Power. Lots of screws. We've got at least a way to plug it in. Standard US power. And lots of screws. These tiny little screws that this come with, these are going to be used to put the drives in. The drives do not slide in to the array. You have to put them into a drive case. That is just not an attractive angle, is it? You have to put them and screw them into the drive bay container, the holder that sticks them in there. So we will be using that. Lots of packing. Okay. And the array. How are we going to do this without making that happen? Okay. Here's the array. I'm going to move this and put it down on the over here for a moment. Ooh, that's big. How big that is. It's effectively a PC with a bunch of drives that are going to go inside of it. Put that there. Okay, we're done with the box. So as not to scratch anything. For some. There we go. Whew. It is large. And it has, I think, a single power. Well, across the front are the drives. So you've got 12 bays that you can have drives in. The bays themselves unlatch, and you can see they're empty. So my job is going to be I have new 4 terabyte drives. I have 4 of them that are going to be going in this. And then I have 5 3 terabyte drives that are in my other array that once I transfer over the data, pull them out of that and reformat them for this array. On the back, and again, I apologize, I'm not set up for an unboxing with multiple cameras, but we'll have a look. Back. Maybe we'll zoom up so you can see it. I'm doing this on the fly. All right, so there on the back, you can see that pretty well. The back's the best part, right? It's power. There is a switch for on and off. So I'll be plugging that into a UPS connection that I have. I have multiple UPS connections coming in. It looks like there is a 9-pin serial port, probably for management. I can't imagine plugging into that. It's like some USB also on the back. You can plug in USB drives, and they will be seen as an external drive. So I do have some USB drive carriers that I use to put drives in and out of just a big container I stick a drive in, which is nice. You don't have to have any extra hardware. Multiple LAN connections. You can do link aggregation into this. So you can set up, I think, a LAN 1, LAN 2, LAN 3, and LAN 4. So you can set this up as separate connections to different networks, or you can combine these together to be link aggregated. So it uses the link aggregation standard, the 802.1ac, I think it is. So you can do link aggregation. So that's nice too. If you have a switch that can support multiple 1 gig connections, you could effectively bind together 4 1 gig connections to get 4 gig throughput into the single box. Now, for what I'm doing is mostly reading and writing. There's not a lot of multiple people accessing. I'm not streaming video from this. There's not other people that are in my studio that are using this. So this is really just going to be me. I'm not going to do any link aggregation. Most of what I use this for is storage and archiving. Okay, also in the back, we have reset button and expansion. Expansion, you can add a separate server chassis that's got drives in it. That's not the brains, but it's an extra set of drives. So you can add on a separate one of these with another 12 bays available to do something with. So it's kind of nice to have that there. Hopefully we'll need to use that. Now this looks like it opens. It does. All right. Excellent. So looks like we can get that pretty good. So inside of it, should probably lift this up. It's really the same thing through all the different bays, but you can see there is a separate set of fans. And it looks like it's in a fan chassis, so you can pull the fans out and replace them. Fans being one of the other moving parts inside of servers. There's not a lot that moves inside of a server. There are drives. If it's a physical hard drive, that's obviously spinning and that's moving. And then there are fans. That's pretty much it. Sometimes there are fans in a power supply, but there's nothing else that really moves. So fans often, especially in an infrastructure device, will fail and you will need to replace them. So it's nice to have it set up so that you could replace a fan or an entire chassis of fans if you had to. And on the higher end firewalls, on higher end routers, and higher end equipment, that's certainly something you commonly see. This has multiple powers going in on the front side. It looks like all of the drives are fed through power at the bottom. That's the only place there's power. There's not power anywhere else on here. If I could show it a little bit better. It's hard to see backwards there, but you can kind of see where that power is. If I show you, all the drives are plugging in from the front, which is facing away from us. So we're seeing the back end of those. That's really, is there anything else that I can do with this? Anything else user accessible on this side? It doesn't look like it. There's power and there's data that are going in, and you can kind of see the data is on the other side. There's your SATA connectivity that plugs into the backside of this. So that means that this backside is really all the computer piece. So your motherboard's going to be in there. It is a Linux box, and it doesn't look like that is designed to easily come apart. Although I do know that you can do memory upgrades for this. If you're doing something, you can load in other services on here and do other things with it. So there are many services you can run on this device. It could be your Active Directory controller. It can do time services. It can be a cloud system like Dropbox. It can stream video. You can plug cameras or have IP address cameras that are storing the camera information, the video onto this constantly. There's all kinds of things you can do with it. I'm not doing any of that. I'm just storing videos on it just for archiving. But you can upgrade memory if you need to do more of those things. So the next step for me will be to build this out. I've got a place in my rack ready for it. I'm gonna have to move some things around, slide it into my rack, and then initialize the software that's on here. And I'm gonna record that part. So once this is in the rack and running, if you wanted to see the rest of this, I'll have the video of me starting up the software and getting that running. I maybe just start up a live stream again once we do that, just to see if I can get that running. I think that'll be easy to do. So that should give you an idea anyway in the chat room of what we're doing there. .1Q is trunking. I'm not talking about trunking though. I was talking about link aggregation, which you may not have been talking about. Kind of coming in. I couldn't see the chat from across the room. So. The question about how loud are the fans on this? I don't know. It did have some dB information that was in the back or on the spec sheet itself. So I was able to get an idea of dB. Let's see if I can set this up so I can sit down again. Close? No. Sideways anyway. So I was able to get at least an idea that it shouldn't be much louder than the existing one. I have these racks that are inside of my desk are built with foam and around it so that you can't hear anything. It's designed to be quiet. Let me set this up again so I can sit at my desk properly. That's close enough anyway. That's pretty good, actually. Okay, so what I'm going to do next, I've got to probably move things around inside of my rack and get those things running. I'm doing that right now. Do I have power? I do have power. Do I have Ethernet? I do have Ethernet. And that's it. I'm just going to keep this running then. We'll keep the live stream on, and you can watch me fight with my rack. We'll do that. And I'll just leave it here. So there's nothing going to be happening in the meantime. I'm just going to keep this running and recording. Maybe I do have a shelf. Maybe I'll just put it on the shelf. That way I can power it up and we can play with it right out of the box. Let's see what IP address this has on it. Oh, it does not come with anything. So it probably has an IP address associated with it already. And I'll need to connect up directly to configure it. Or maybe it does DHCP. The drives, so let me find them. People asking. When you're putting together a network storage device like this, it's a third-party device. You can't just take any drive off the shelf and use it. You have to use the drives that the manufacturer of the drive array will say will work properly for this. So fortunately with Synology, it's pretty well known. There are a lot of drives that they've tested and they will approve. There's a big list on their website. And for what I do, I want to use a drive that's specifically designed for network address storage. And Western Digital makes a drive called a red drive. So what I have are Western Digital 4 terabyte red drives. I have 4 of these. They call them red drives. So WD40EFRX, I think it says right there. Yes. So that's the 4 type. And you can see it even says on there, this is designed, autofocus. It's designed for NAS storage. So it's a little bit higher quality than their green, a lot higher quality than their green drives. It has also designed so that it does power down and can power back up, but it's designed to work in a NAS environment to be able to do that if that's how it's going to work. So that's good. It's got 4 of these ready to go. I don't hear any clicking when I do that, so that's good. So I'm going to see if I can't put this in. I see this on my screen. What I really want to know, can we look at this? What I really want to know is, I did a pretty good job there with the camera. Download center. And how do I set up the hardware? Do I have to have their software to set up the hardware? Really? Let's find out. That would be a bit of a pain to have to do that, but we certainly can. See if anybody in the chat room's ahead of me. Nope. I think you guys are good. There's probably software that I run, Synology Assistant. That's got to be what it is. Let's find documentation, shall we? I'm just saying. Let's download their docs. Okay, we'll read the documentation if we have to. This is not one that I would want to redo. Let's see. All right. Oh, it's big. 127 meg for document. Really? What is that? A PAT file? I don't even know what that is. Oh, that's the operating system. Well, I'm going to need that. I just wanted the documentation. I guess if I, like you said in the chat room, click the Documents tab, if I would just read the chat room, that would all be taken care of for me. It was really simple if I pay attention. Okay. Install. You can log in with a browser with blah, 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 connect it, go to findsynology.com. So they've got this set up to respond back, or give it, if it has an IP address, if it's on the same network, open a browser, enter this following address field. Okay, well, good. I don't have to give it an IP. I can just plug it in. So how many videos can I fit in 4 terabytes? Not so many, actually. The video for an hour of this is about 150 gig in the type that I use, in the format that I use. It could be smaller, but I just use one that I can edit quickly. Okay. I need to shut down my existing Synology drive array. The Synology drive array that I have now is this one I don't remember. Let's find out. I've got it right here, actually. Show you this. Maybe I'll show you this. There we go. This is my existing Synology drive array. It's a DS1512 Plus 5 drive array. Only had it up for 6 days. That's the one that I will be replacing. But because it's in the same rack, I want to be sure that, because they're drives, they're spinning. You don't want to jostle them. So I want to be sure I've shut this thing down. And I think I can do that from here with the shutdown button. Am I sure? This is all in a browser, by the way. This is great. This station will soon power off. And it's in here. And it's going to power down. And I'm just waiting for it to do so. So it's finishing up the caching. How long will it take to transfer the array? I have no idea. A lot, because it's practically full. It's got about 12 terabytes in there. So we'll have to transfer quite a bit for those pieces. Quite a bit. I'm going to stop my recording. All right, we've got all 4 of those disks in there. Let's connect again. Connecting for the first time. All we did was put that in. Welcome to your disk station. Make this bigger so everybody can see it. Please ensure you've backed up hard drives before installing. Here's the model name. Blah, it's kind of boring. We have to change that. IP address 10.1.10.60 that it got via DHCP. There's the MAC address of the device, which actually wouldn't be a bad thing to put into a spreadsheet that I keep that shows where everything is and what switch port it's connected to and all of those things. Serial number, version number, and a status 4.2.3320. It says all data on hard drives 1, 2, 3, and 4 will be deleted. That sounds delightful. So we'll click the right arrow. Install Disk Station Manager. I can download and install the latest DSM. I can install the built-in DSM or install DSM from my computer or installation disk. It says to always install the latest DSM to optimize performance. Now I downloaded one earlier, so I may just use that one, right? Let's do that. It's built for reliability. Thank you, Kevin. And that worked, right? So it wants me to use the Synology Disk Station Manager, which I don't think is what I downloaded. So I'm going to choose download and install the latest DSM recommended, because I'm a recommended kind of person. Is that it? Did it switch? Okay, we'll just keep going. Keep going. Administrator account, create a password. I'll create a password here. Server name, that's an awful name. And the other one actually still has the old name, which is Rack Station. This name will be, what was the name of that? Well, we can't mix those things. So at the moment, this will just be the second one. We'll create a Synology RAID. Yes, that's what I would like, which is kind of their RAID 5-ish kind of hybrid RAID scenario. And I do agree to the end user license agreement that they're nice enough to give me right here. Here it is. That's the website terms of use. I don't know what that difference that makes at all. Let's install now. And it says all data on disks 1, 2, 3, and 4 will be removed during installation. It has nothing on it now, so that's fine with me. And your disk station will be ready in approximately 10 minutes. Please wait. Do not turn off the power during this procedure. And begins formatting. Well, that's compelling. That's it. So there you go, Benny. I'm glad you stuck in with all of that to watch me, do this piece. It looks like the first thing it's doing is downloading the disk station manager. Then it will do whatever it needs to do. You may be able to see that it's doing something down here. You can see the green lights are flashing down there in the rack. So there is activity. It's doing something. That's really nice. They're not too bad. Thanks, Benny. Have a good day too. So it's formatting those drives and doing other things. It looks like it's also downloading the disk station manager right now. So it's actually formatting and I guess downloading that as well at the same time. So now we just wait and we see what happens. That piece. Yes, you caught my password. It's 123456. After me going on and on about Adobe. I had one of those Adobe accounts. There was they set up a site where you could type in, is your name part of one of these Adobe things? And it would tell you, yeah, you're one of the Adobe folks. That's disturbing to find that. So in fact, it showed, here is my email address, which confirmed that my number was in there, but they didn't send out in that page. They didn't send, I think it was LastPass that did this, did not send the hint, but you could have the hint sent to your email just to prove that they had the hint there. But the entire database is available. You could, of course, go download the database and look at everyone's email address and everyone's hint. And that might give you the idea, because people reuse their passwords. If you figure out the hint is, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, now you can use that email to try to log into Amazon, try to log into PayPal, try to log into, go to town. The compromised, Robert, was Adobe's. I talked about it during the study group, which was this article on naked security. I don't know if you just heard it. The fan kicked in for a moment there. Was this article that talked about Adobe's huge passwords being stolen. So it was just bad. What kind of security am I running with that? With what? With the Synology? I don't know that I'm really running anything fancy. It's the username and password we put in there is nothing too big. I spell it wrong. It's entirely possible. Now, as you can tell, it has now finished the downloading process. And it's telling me that the disk station will be available in 536 seconds. I don't know, but I see it's rebooting, it looks like. You see the green light, the blue light flashing? None of the green lights are on. I think it's rebooting. And I doubt it's going to take 526 seconds. I think it's giving me a countdown for it to reboot and be available, and then it would complain. We'll see. I think that's why I heard the fans kicking, because it was rebooting. So you can see that blue LED is flashing. That's the one that is on, it's the power status. Because none of the lights are on the drives are flashing that go across there. I don't think that it's formatting the drives anymore. We'll see. The blue light flashing, I guess it may have even upgraded software. So we'll see what happens. Or it may just really take 500 and something. What, take 10 minutes really to reboot? For me, it's not a big deal. Well, this is interesting. I like this. You can't see it from where you are. And that's pretty, that light's a lot. It's right in front of that. I put a Mac Mini right on top of that. It's got the MAC addresses and the serial number right on top. So if I needed to know those MAC addresses, if I was doing a packet capture, The MAC addresses are right there for me to reference. That's kind of nice to have that there. We can see that it's completing installation allegedly. We will see. I have now a mess of boxes to clean up. Oh, did I have built-in security software? I'm just relying on my firewall. I am just relying on the firewall. It's going to stay on the inside of my network. There is software on here that you could configure to act like a Dropbox or a box.com. I'm not going to run anything. I'm not going to access it externally. I'm not going to port forward anything. It won't be accessible from the outside. So no, there's no additional security other than the existing firewall I have in place, which has nothing set up for port forwarding. I have 2 internet connections. It just powered down. It's powering back up. I have 2 internet connections in my studio, or in my house. My studio is 1 internet connection, completely separate from everything else I'm running. So the rest of the family is on a completely different network. My wireless that I use in here, which I never use except for my iPad, and the wired network that I have in here are completely self-contained. Everything else outside of this room is separated. It's not connected into any of this at all. So I feel pretty good about having it there. Now, if I have everything password protected, but if somebody did come in and plug into an interface, I'm not running anything that would prevent somebody from just plugging into the switch. So one of my boys is smart. He could run in here, plug into the switch directly, be on my local network, and he could move around and do things. At that point, it's a username and password that is on the device itself that will be protecting everything. So that's one thing we do there. What kind of firewall do I use? It is a Comcast something. It's a Comcast business gateway. I'll be generic about it. The gateway itself is one where I don't have administration of the device set up to be from outside. But I can come in here and get tons of information I can set up different passwords. Here's the network. So I've got DHCP set up in here. I could set up different routing. I could plug in different connections, have different routes to other places. Here's the firewall selection, no ping on the WAN, so you wouldn't be able to find me even if you wanted to. I do not have this gateway smart packet detection causes more problems than it solves. I got rid of that. It was firing off something. I don't remember what I was running internally, but it was firing. I want to say it may have been something with the audio that I use, because the audio on my system here is all IP based, and I have multiple parts of it that connect via multicast via these very small UDP packets. Because it's audio, it has to be really quick. And I think that messed up something in there. So I disabled that. Disable firewall for true static IP subnet only. I want it to be dynamic. Port configurations. Looks like there was something set up for port forwarding at one time. I remember what that was. I was doing some testing of SIP traffic of voice over IP. I'm not going to change that right now because I don't want to reboot the device. I have no website blocking. Are you kidding? We'll curl your toes to see my browser. There is gateway status here. I have network configuration. Here's what's set up on the network side. This does support IPv6. If I wanted to have IPv6 out to Comcast, I could do that on this particular model. Local addresses. Now you've seen it, so you can bring me down. Cable modem tells me everything about the cable modem. So I get plenty of views of that. I can see everything going on. Obviously, that is a very simple firewall. It's nothing fancy. It's not like a business side firewall. It's a physical device that's sitting. You can't see it, but it is, from my view, it's over just in the corner, just stuck over there. You can see rebooted. It did something there for a moment. You could see lights flashing. There it goes. So it's now rebooted twice or 3 times. And look at that. Let's see if it's there. And there it is. We are logged in. It is creating the volume. Would you like to check the status now? Sure. Let's check the status. What's it doing? What's going on? It's got a few things on the screen. It's got this quick start wizard. We're going to move that over here. It's kind of a nice, this is all the browser-based front end, by the way. It's kind of a nice browser-based front end, isn't it? It's got all these windows on here that you can move around and do things with. You can resize them. You can do other things with. I already know how to do this part because I have their smaller Synology box. It's the same software across the board on all of them. So it's got a very nice front end to be able to use. It's got this system help that's always on here. So if I wanted to look at this, I was noticing the other day that I wasn't getting the same type of access to the system that I was expecting. I went in and looked at the system health, low CPU, low memory. It looked like it was fine, but it was my operating system that was indexing things across the network to the network address storage. So of course it was taking a long time. And once I saw that in my operating system, we were fine. We can see that it is currently verifying hard disks in the background and performing a data scrubbing. It's at 0.01%. It's going to have at the end of this 10.82 terabytes. So it's got a lot of work to do at this point to get those 10.82 terabytes, which are running on this modified RAID 5 configuration, up and running. So we stuck in 4 terabyte drives at 16. So I'm using a chunk of that that's set aside for the redundancy part. So I end up having at the end of this 10.82 terabytes. So that's, that's not horrible. And for the redundancy on here, that's pretty good. The type of RAID, as I mentioned, it's kind of a RAID 5. It is Synology's own RAID type. It's a proprietary RAID type. But since I can't pull these out and put them in another, even if I was running RAID 5 in here, you really can't pull them out and put them in another manufacturer's RAID 5 configuration and expect it to work. I'm just going to use Synology's own built-in and optimized RAID configuration since they're most accustomed to that RAID config. They've done all of their work on there. I'm going to rely on them to give me that RAID piece. So yeah, that's a lot of parity, isn't it? That's a lot of drive that's set up just for redundancy, but I expect they do other things with that as well for optimization. So at this point, there's not a lot more. Now, technically, it's 3.64 terabytes. So if you look at that, it's really not 12. It's really well under that. So that's about right. You lose a drive. At this point, there's not a lot more to do. We now wait for this entire drive to finish verifying the hard drives, does its data scrubbing. It's really checking the drives really, 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 really well. It's going to read to them. It's going to write to them. It's going to clear them out. It completely nukes the drive, but it's not just formatting. It's also testing the drive as it prepares it. And obviously, that's incredibly important for network address storage because we're going to have to rely on these drives now to store all of this very important data for us. We need to confirm before we put one bit of data on them that the drives really are working okay. Once that finishes, and it's going to take hours and hours and hours to finish that process, it'll be ready. And I can simply start storing my files. I copy them over from my other array and put them onto here, which of course will take even more numbers of hours to make that happen. This does support quite a bit of traffic across these. I can do jumbo frames, so I can at least transfer the data with very, very large frame sizes. And once this is up and running, it constantly monitors the smart statistics on each individual drive. I think I can even show them on here. Does it have them up yet? It does not. But once it finishes this, I can see the smart statistics here as well that will tell me, is a drive starting to act odd? And I can also set up email notifications in here that will tell me there I found a problem with the drive. We did the normal check. I'm starting to see more errors. The drive space is getting low. So it can give you some proactive feedback as well. Really, really useful. Yeah, this resource monitor, very, very nice. I can set this up to show different pieces. Here's the storage. So I can see how much storage, current connections. That's me logged in right now. Storage monitor, obviously nothing to store quite yet. Resource monitor. So it's ready to go. It's just now waiting on me. System health, we should be able to see, yep, everything's running just fine. And we can put these all on the screen at the same time, or we can keep them down there. It's a great UI. Really like this UI. So lots to see and do now. We just now have to wait for it to finish. After all of me talking, 0.07%. So that's a quick overview. There's plenty more in the Synology operating system. Up at the top are the most used things here. So you can look at all the files. Here's the storage manager that we currently have up and running. Backup and restore information is here. You could load Synology agents on all of your devices, and they will check in and back up to the Synology storage. So there's some functionality there as well. Kind of have your own automated daily backup process configured that's outside of an individual operating system. And there's all of the packages that are on here as well. Here's the control panel for changing things like network configurations, firewall settings. It's a Linux box. You can do so much inside of this, and it gives you this nice front end to do it with. And here's the package center I mentioned. I agree to the terms of service. There are so many things you can do. Here's every package that you can put in. Antivirus on here. You could run this as a PBX with asterisk. Seriously. Audio stations, cloud stations, a DHCP server, a directory server. Mentioned you want to have your own Active Directory running. There it is. It can be a DNS server. It can be a wiki with DocuWiki. Download station, Drupal. So you can set this up as a web server and have it provide content management. Things I don't even know. What's Hasplum and GLPI? And here's another backup, Glacier backup. iTunes server. This can be an iTunes server. You put all your everything on there and you access it from iTunes anywhere else on the network. Joomla, mail servers, media servers, mail stations, all kinds of different media servers on here, obviously, for so much storage. Photo station, PHPBB, you can run mailing lists and bulletin boards on here. PHPMyAdmin to do PHP administration. So if you don't have another server somewhere, a web server or something else you happen to be using, this can run everything. It can be a web server. It can be your mail server. It can do DNS. It does everything. It can be a VPN server. I actually might use that. That might be the one time where I poke a hole into my firewall, and this could be a VPN endpoint. I could be traveling, run, I'm assuming, the Synology software, and be able to create a tunnel right back to my Synology server, which then drops me off into my local network. Not a bad idea. I might consider doing something like that. So lot going on there. That's quite a bit. And they're always adding new things into this mix. They sell different components, different devices that do individual ones of these things. For instance, they have, where was the one that was the video server, the camera server? Was that near the top? So you could set this up to be the camera server. It connects to the IP-based cameras, pulls down and constantly streams the IP video, stores the video on the drives, and then it's got this great front end that you can use to back up over time, to look at the video, to replay, to snapshot, to do different things. So great pieces there. Oh, look, even a podcast generator. Could have used that a while back. Well, there it is. And I mentioned all of that software. This front end is exactly the same, even if you get the really tiny OneDrive Synology external device or the big ones. It's exactly the same type of software. So some nice functionality that goes beyond just having a drive array or an external drive that's just sitting there. How far have we gotten so far? 0.012. There's not a lot going on there. Well, there we go. I think that really comes to the end of the stream for today. We've done quite a bit. Just getting the network study group, the post show done, where apparently all of the calls came in, and setting this up. This actually went much faster getting it into the rack and getting it running than what I was expecting. It's great to have that here now. And now it's just chugging along with its little drive lights, just flickering away. The next step for me, obviously, is once that says the drives are available, I'm going to plug in the other drive array, connect it back up to the network, and then just transfer everything, just copy everything. There may be a Synology to Synology synchronization program on here too. I don't need that. I'm just going to copy and paste and stick it on there. And at that point, I'm done. I can take the old array. I'm going to take the drives out of the old array and put those in here. So I've got 5 3 terabyte drives. I'm going to slide into this, and it will restructure the RAID, I hope. And that'll be an interesting moment when we add another drive and see what happens. I may have to add them a drive at a time because I obviously won't have a backup of that backup. How am I going to do this? So that's what we will be doing. Thanks for everybody for joining us. Thanks for being on the stream. Thanks for watching what we're doing here. Thanks for paying attention to this craziness that is constantly in place. A lot of you bought the study guides today. Thank you so much. Can't even explain how much myself and Rackspace appreciates it. And I'm going to sort of put this all back together and put my office back together, get the studio back up and running, and then start working on the editing of this video. I'll make a study group video, a post-study group video for the after show, and then I'll have a separate one of us, that very, very chaotic one of me doing doing all of this, and I'll just cut out a lot of these things in there. So thanks for having a look at us putting together this Synology box. You've now seen what we'll be doing with storage now for the next few months/years, hopefully. And we'll see where we go from there. Thanks for joining us, everyone.